is there a possibility that if they don't link up this phone properly, that he could get acquitted? 100%.
Bruce Rivers, he's the criminal lawyer. Who is he? Bruce Rivers, he's the criminal lawyer. And who is he? Bruce Rivers, he's the criminal lawyer. And what he do? And he's gonna react to all the self-snitching.
Welcome to another episode of Criminal Lawyer Reacts. I'm Bruce Rivers, board certified in the area of criminal defense and criminal trial law. Today we are reacting to the murder case of YNW Melly. This is actually day 4 of the case, and we're going to give you kind of a day-by-day breakdown of this first week in trial. But before we get to that, this is brought to you by eSign.com. eSign.com, a very effective way to remotely do business. They're an incredible sponsor of ours, and I just want to give a kind of a serious shout out to them because they are, I use it all the time in order to have people sign retainers when they're either here and they just can't make it to the office, or they're from out of state. But I also use it for other documents as well. So, for example, if I'm doing a plea by mail, if I have a business deal that I want to execute, it's an effective way to remotely do business, and you can do it fast so you get it done now. eSign.com, a very effective way to remotely do business. And don't forget, you get 3 free signatures a month. You just download the app, and it's super easy to use. If I can use it, you can use it. And if it ain't eSign, no one signs. We did a reaction to the opening statements. And so the state goes first. Why do they go first? Because they have the burden of proof. Anytime somebody brings a case, whoever brings the case, like if I have a car accident and I want to sue somebody, it's my burden to prove whatever I'm trying to prove. And in this case, it's the state's burden. Now let's talk about what their burden is. Do they have a murder weapon? No, they don't. Do they have him really at the scene without digital footprint? No, they don't. Is there an eyewitness? Supposedly there's an eyewitness, and that's YNW Portland. But when his statement that he gave to the cops he didn't go off on Melly. He said it was a drive-by. Now, in our last video, I opined a little bit that Portland was going to testify. Cortland Henry was going to testify. I said that kind of off the cuff. And here's why this comes in. YNW Portland's statement comes in because it's not offered for its truth. And I didn't really think about that the last time. It is actually a false statement. So a false statement is not hearsay because it's not offered for its truth. The definition of hearsay is a statement other than the declarant offered in the court to prove the truth of the matter asserted. So let's say, and if the witness is not available, their statement generally doesn't come in. And Portland probably wouldn't be available. It certainly wouldn't be available for Melly to call him. And he wouldn't be available with the state unless the state gave him immunity or there was some other deal that he got. So why does his statement come in? His statement comes in because it's not offered for its truth. That's why it comes in. So my bad on that one. But it does come in, and so let's talk about what they've done so far. And we're going to react to some of these videos here in a second. On day 1, they had 2 crime scene investigators, and they talked about one having not changed their gloves. Why is that important? Well, if you're going from item to item to item, you need to change your gloves. Why do you need to change your gloves? Because you can get cross-contamination. You can take DNA from one item and put it on another. That's one thing. And then the investigator said she definitely changed her glove when moving parts between parts of the Jeep. The reason that's important in this case, they don't have an eyewitness, and it's a total circumstantial case. Because let's look at they don't have a firearm, and the phone's not in Melly's name, and they don't have his footprints, and so his case is based 100% on that phone being ascribed to him. And they're going to have, later on in the trial, they're going to have a lot of other evidence to show his ownership of the phone. But the more I think about this, the more I think that, is there a possibility that if they don't link up this phone properly, that he could get acquitted? 100%. If the defense has got some way to poke a hole in that, they definitely have a shot. On the 3rd day of the trial, because no gun was found, the prosecution failed to show that YNW Melly shot the victims. They're going to have to show that YNW Melly shot the victims. And how are they going to show that? They're going to show that by his actions later on. They're guilty conscious. There's an Instagram post that, that exchanged where he said, I did that thing. On the third day of the trial, the prosecutor submitted evidence, including a photo of YNW Bortland seemingly unblemished from his hands after the shooting, which, according to the defense, he narrowly avoided by ducking in the car when the assailants drove by. There are other crime scene photos and analysts that testified about the bullets in the car and how it's riddled with bullets, and we'll get into that here in a minute. And we also have today, the judge took a recess because they were arguing about. So today, the defense filed a motion to exclude this Snapchat video, saying that it was just Melly goofing around, and the judge took a recess by that. But before that happened, Felicia Holmes testified. Felicia Holmes is the mother of Melly's ex-girlfriend, and there's going to be some fireworks. We'll watch that here in a second. So let's kind of get into some of the testimony here. So when you have a murder case, for the prosecution's end, it seems tedious because they can't miss a thing. Because what do they have to prove? They have to prove a death. They have to prove, somebody else did the death. Somebody else was responsible for it. And they have to prove a time and place. Do they have to prove motive? No, they don't. Let's first look at the scenes of the car.
Is that the same that's indicated on that photo in the red lettered writing?
Yes.
Moving on to the next photo. What are we looking at in here? I'm going to zoom in here to the hood area.
That is another piece of evidence tape used to seal the vehicle in the same way that...
The reason to seal a vehicle is to make sure that they would know then if it was disturbed. In other words, if somebody lifted the hood to try to do something to the vehicle.
That when we sealed the premises prior to a search warrant, the vehicle and all of its entries are sealed prior to the search warrant being executed.
So, for example, now looking at the screen down here at the bottom of the passenger side doors, that red item, is that the same evidence tape we've been looking at?
Yes, it is.
Moving on to the next photo.
See, they go through all these photos, and it is tedious. But you know what? They have to go through it, and they have to show you every nook and cranny. Look at the pattern of bullets. So what do we see here? We see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 rounds going into that side of the vehicle. You think any of those rounds actually match up to wounds, of where the people were in the car? That is probably the best piece of evidence they have that this is manufactured and that Bortland's full of shit. And when you have the trajectory going from right to left and then the wounds coming left to right, there's some that they just made this up. And then you got the shell casing that they found inside the vehicle, 40 caliber.
Passenger side and rear passenger side doors.
Here's a closer view. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I think I see at least 8 rounds. So if everything came from the right, you would expect the wounds would be on the right-hand side.
You've begun executing and searching the search warrant at this point.
No, I have not.
So what is the purpose of all these exterior outside photos? Photo. What is the...
You look from behind, the back was shot out.
Going on, what are we looking at on this?
If you look at the driver's side, it's pristine. There's absolutely no defects whatsoever. So when you look at this, there's going to be a lot of testimony about seals, about chain of custody. Everything has got to be just so. They didn't test all the things for DNA, and the defense will make hay out of that because, what if somebody else touched that? And that would have put somebody else's presence in the vehicle, correct? The vehicle. And they try hard not to disturb anything and not to cross-contaminate anything. Because you don't want, DNA from one item to inadvertently wind up on another item. And you don't want your DNA as a criminologist to show up on any other kind of items. That's why they wear gloves. Sometimes they wear, like shower caps and other kinds of things. So their own personal items don't contaminate the scene.
Moving on to the next image here. What are we looking at?
Look at all the blood on the center console. That's very common to see that in shootings. One of the things you can tell if a wound is either pre or post, pre-death or post-death, is the amount of blood. Because, if I get a shot in the leg after I'm dead, it's not going to bleed as much as when I'm alive. And the reason being, your blood is being pumped by the heart if you're alive. And it's not being pumped if you're not. So you look at the back of the seat, and there's looks like 4 bullet holes. Or defects. They call them defects because no one knows for sure what they are, but for sure they're a defect. When you're a defense lawyer and you go through these things, and you see scenes like this, and blood was there, there was a dead body in there, and then you see the autopsy photos, and you get a whole picture from beginning to end. It is kind of heady. Methodically go through, you get pictures of all the bullet wounds or the bullet holes and wounds, I guess, but what do those mean? And now watch what they do to tie that up.
Explain to the ladies and gentlemen of the jury, what are these green, red items that are now in the back seat of the Jeep?
These are called trajectory rods, and like I said, they are used to show the approximate.
In my opinion, this is the strongest evidence that they have that this was not a drive-by and that it was actually a setup.
Path of the projectile when it struck the surface.
How many trajectory rods are in this photo that we're looking at here?
There are 7.
Going forward to the next photograph, what are we looking at here?
This is the opposite side of the rear passenger side seat, showing the trajectory rods coming.
That's pretty powerful because you can see the path of the bullets at that point. Now, you remember, let's kind of remember the positioning of the people in the car. You've got Borland driving, you've got the 2 decedents, one in the front passenger seat and one in the rear passenger side seat. And then you've got Melly, who supposedly is in the driver's side rear seat. Okay? When you fire a semi-automatic handgun, it ejects spent casing. In other words, it fires the bullet out and then spits out the casing that way. And then it rocks another one automatically in the round. As opposed to one of these, which when you fire it, it keeps it in the cylinder. This is one of the most damning pieces of evidence because there wouldn't be a casing in the car if all the shots came from outside the car. They take everything out and they meticulously analyze everything. So they'll have a water bottle. Ostensibly there might be some DNA on there. They have a Gatorade bottle, and then they have this white plastic bag. So the spent bullet casing. Now that would be important if you could tell when it was fired. But there's no way to tell exactly when that bullet was fired. But if it matches the caliber of the other bullets, it's pretty damning evidence. And this is a bag that was found in the rear seat where Melly was. Rear driver's side floorboard, exactly where Melly was sitting. It could have been there from any number of ways or time periods. But and when you have a circumstantial case, you don't have one smoking gun, for pardon the pun. What you have is a series of things. When you add them all up and you look at the totality of the circumstances, you can't help but draw one conclusion, one way or the other, about that evidence. If you remember, we did a video a while back. The defense team was trying to, first of all, there was allegations that they paid the girlfriend $5,000 for something. I don't know what it was for, like a lawyer or whatever. And then they were trying to take the deposition of the girlfriend and the mom, and they couldn't locate him. And there was all this hubbub that the defense was making about this. This is Miss Holmes, the mother of the ex-girlfriend, and she says she feels threatened by the prosecution and by other people. So there's a little bit of fireworks here. Let's check this out.
How are you today?
Not good.
She don't want to be there.
Cold?
No, I'm just, I don't feel comfortable.
Here's the thing. So this is, let's just say for the sake of argument that we know somebody was shot, right? Because 2 people are dead. And whether it was Melly or a drive-by, let's just say we don't know which. A mother coming in to testify in a gang-related homicide where it's life or death is going to be, a very difficult thing to do anyway. And then if you feel threatened by somebody on the outside or somebody on the inside, in other words, the cops or the robbers, you're gonna be apprehensive. And she probably doesn't want to be there at all.
So, Ms. Holmes, I want to start and just talk about who you are.
Yes.
Ms. Holmes, do you have any children?
Yes, I do.
Can you tell the ladies and gentlemen of the jury who is Mariah?
Notice when she said she felt threatened, that was never followed up on by the prosecutor. Why do you think that is?
Hamilton.
My youngest daughter.
And how old is Mariah?
She's 22 right now.
And Mariah, did she have any romantic relationship with someone named Jamel Denons, also known as YNW Melly?
Yes, she did.
When was she involved in that romantic relationship with Melly?
I'm thinking maybe about 2016 or so till maybe 2019, 20.
Okay. Did you have the opportunity to meet Mr. Denons?
Yes, I did.
What did you refer to him as?
I call him Jamel Melly.
Do you see him here in the courtroom?
Yes, I do.
Where is he?
He's right here.
And what's he?
Now look at her smiley face. Who do you think side she's on? She's looking at him all loving, So that tells you where her head's at.
Wearing?
A white turtleneck and a gray jacket.
Your Honor, may the record reflect an court identification of the defendant.
Yes, the record will reflect an in-court identification of the defendant.
So in October of 2018, had you met the defendant prior?
Yes, I did.
About your daughter, did she have an Instagram?
Now keep in mind the Instagram account is a big part of this case.
I'm pretty sure she did.
Wait, did she have Snapchat?
I'm pretty sure she did.
Okay. So I'm going to show you what's been already admitted into evidence as State 61. There's a couple of videos and things on that I would like to ask you to some questions about.
Your Honor, we'd object as to the predicate being laid for this witness to testify to any of this material.
Thank you.
Foundation.
So I'm showing you what is titled Memories 2018 October 9th 4:58 UTC, Melly, Montana. Can you see that picture there on your screen?
Yes, I can.
Okay. Who is the female over there?
That's my daughter,
And which daughter is that?
Mariah.
Okay. Who else is in that photograph with her?
That's Jamel.
I want to go here to this image. This is 2018, November 11th, 23:53:26 UTC.
See, I mean, just so you know, when you go through a trial like this, there's a lot of foundation that's being laid. And before we get to the meat, and the exciting parts, there's a lot of boring parts, and a lot of court is just waiting around, and some of it's just you gotta wait. So,
Again,
but this is good.
Montana. Who is pictured in this photograph?
My daughter, Mariah.
Do you recognize the individual in the back?
No.
No. Prior to coming into court yesterday, were you shown 2 photographs of the alleged victims in this case?
Yes, I was.
Were you able to identify them?
No, I was not.
In terms of your relationship with Anthony Williams and Chris Thomas, how many times have you met them?
Maybe Zach maybe twice. Judy maybe once.
And do you know them by their real names?
No, I don't.
How did you?
So she knew Sack is Sack Chaser, and
2:17:49 UTC. Start with this one. I'm gonna.
Before we tell me all that extra shit and they leave the most important shit here. But then
So the image that is shown there. Do you recognize the person in that driver's license?
It's blurry.
Okay. I'm going to show you another video, the next one
the most
here.
important shit here. Like, get right there, like, you know you come back. Before we tell me all that extra shit and they leave the most important shit here. Bennett.
Do you recognize the person who's speaking in that video?
Yes, I do.
Who is that?
That's Jamel.
Okay.
And that's going to be a lot more important later.
So I want to go back to October 26th of 2018. Where were you living?
I was living in Cocoa.
And my geography is terrible, I think. How far away is Cocoa from Broward County?
About 3-4 hours.
What do you do for a living?
I'm a registered nurse.
Were you a registered nurse at that time as well?
Yes, I was.
Did you know the defendant's mother?
Yes, I do.
And who is she?
Jamie. The context of the call, but I did overhear the phone call.
Okay. Tell the ladies and gentlemen of the jury what woke you up that morning.
Just hearing my daughter's voice.
Okay. What was the tone of her voice without saying what she said?
I don't remember. I don't remember.
Okay. Do you remember anything the defendant said on that video?
Not verbatim, no, I don't.
Okay. Did you have an opportunity to read the statement you gave in 2018?
This is going to be a little upsetting to the prosecutor because she thinks she's going to help and testify, but she's not being helpful.
I read the statement.
Okay.
But I don't recall. I don't remember anything from that statement, but I do remember my deposition from December 22.
So the deposition, that would have been 6 months ago?
Yes.
Okay. I want to go, and when you spoke, you remember speaking with law enforcement in December of 2018?
I remember speaking with them, but I don't remember what they look like. I don't remember their names.
Ms. Holmes, I want to ask you, were you honest and truthful with law enforcement when you spoke with them?
I would hope so. I mean, it was 2018.
I would hope so. You got to be truthful now because now you're under oath.
I went through a lot during that year, so I'm not sure where my mindset was at that time.
Did you lie to law enforcement?
I would hope not. I don't remember what I said back. It was like 5 years ago.
Oh, of course. I understand it's been a long time. So in terms of the time frame, that was closer in time to the incident of October 26th of 2018?
2018 was a very hard year for me. My husband just went to prison. My father died. I had a lot going on, so
Of course.
I was really out of it.
Okay. And in terms of your conversations with the police officers that morning?
Yes. I do remember that they kind of bullied me and threatened my daughter to take her.
Bullied me and threatened my daughter. One of the things that happens on a lot of murder cases by aggressive cops, not cops who are not have an agenda, but cops who think you're not cooperating, and they can really put the screws to you. They can really try to pressure you, and it has sometimes an adverse effect.
Jail for accessory after the fact. I do remember that.
Yes. And in terms of the statements that you made about what happened,
Yeah.
you don't have any recollection of
No.
that? Did you read this statement multiple times?
I looked at it and I just didn't recall it, and I don't know.
So she really doesn't want to be helpful.
And so you indicated you hoped you were truthful with law enforcement.
Yes, I did.
I have to ask you to be more definitive. Were you truthful?
I don't remember what I said to them back then, so if I was to tell you something now, I could be lying. I don't want to lie on the stand because you're going to take me to jail. So I'm saying what you want me to say.
I do not
Which, I mean, so that is a real concern.
anything. I want you to tell the truth.
Okay, that's what I'm doing.
Okay. So, Ms. Holmes, with regards to that day, did you lie to law enforcement?
I just
Objection,
answered that
asked and
question.
answered.
Excuse me, overruled. Repeat your question.
So whenever there's an objection, that was a proper objection, asked and answered, but she really didn't answer the question. You can only ask a question really once, and once it's answered, you can't ask it again unless there's a certain exception. But you can't, if there's an objection, the witness has to remain silent until the judge rules, and that's what he's talking about here. So here's the thing. When a witness like this isn't being cooperative, the prosecutor will get pissed off. And they'll get pissed off, and they will try to, go all ham.
Ms. Holmes, I asked you, did your daughter?
See, look at the body language. And you can tell so much by people's body language.
Did you have a conversation with your daughter about what happened on October 26th of 2018?
Yes, I asked her if she knew anything about what happened.
Did she tell you what happened? No, she did
She
not.
just told she didn't know.
Have you ever made a statement that is different than
So
that?
did she ever tell you what happened? She says, no, she didn't.
Have you ever made a statement that is different than that?
Your Honor, we'd object to the lack of foundation, calls for hearsay, speculation, unless they can establish that that witness was present.
So that's a lot of objections in one objection. But so the prosecutor's asking her a question she already knows the answer to. She always knows that she said before that she said she knew what happened. But you can't get the daughter's statement in unless it's, some hearsay exception.
Thank you. The objection noted. That's what I previously ruled on sidebar. Proceed to your approach.
So they already talked about this at sidebar.
Showing you your messages from Instagram from February 5th of 2021.
Who was that Instagram? Is that the one the Instagram stands with Portland?
Ma'am,
I don't
sorry.
remember. I don't remember that Instagram.
Look at it.
I already looked at it. You want to show it to me?
So is the
I don't remember that. You showed it to me like 3
So this is a prosecutor that does not have control of her witness.
times already.
So you don't recall making
I don't
a
recall
statement
making that
from.
statement. No.
Excuse me, one at a time, please. Let her finish her answer before you ask the next question.
So you don't recall making that statement.
No, I don't.
For the third time.
So you don't recall saying.
So what they're going to have to do is now they're asking her, do you recall giving this statement? And when somebody does this, it's very infuriating because they gave the statement. They probably even have it on a recording. But they're saying that I don't remember. So they're going to have to, whoever took her statement is going to have to come into court and give what they call a prior inconsistent statement. So she's saying one thing now, and somebody else can say something different later.
Objection.
Sustained.
So, Ms. Holmes, in terms, you said that your daughter didn't tell you.
Objection. Asked and answered.
Sustained.
So
Remember, ask and answer. You can only ask it once.
did you ever make a statement that's different than that?
Objection. Asked and answered.
Sustained.
What? Again? Are we back in the Johnny Depp trial with Elaine?
Into the statements that, with regards to October 26th of 2018. Is it your testimony to the jury that you remember coming to Fort Lauderdale?
Objection. Asked and answered.
Sustained. Listen, I just want one of you making objections. Whoever's going to handle the
Yes,
witness.
sir.
I love it when you box a prosecutor in and, they just can't fucking move. I fucking love that so much. It is, especially because they don't know what they're doing or they get frustrated and they kind of lose it a little bit. And I think that's happening here.
Apologize.
Ms. Holmes, is it your testimony you don't remember why you came down?
I told you why I came down.
Okay, why is that?
Objection. Asked and answered.
Sustained.
Ms. Holmes, have you ever
Permission, Your Honor, to treat this witness as a hostile witness. That means, so this is direct examination. Remember what happens on direct examination, my students? You ask questions that are open-ended. What did you do on Thursday? As opposed to a cross-examination where you said, you went out on Thursday to a club, didn't you? And so now she's kind of getting sideways with this witness.
Let me rephrase. Ms. Holmes, did your daughter ever threaten to cooperate with law enforcement?
Objection.
Sustained.
Why would that be sustained? Because it's hearsay. Whatever her daughter said at any time coming through this witness is hearsay, unless it's an admission of a crime.
Ms. Holmes, did you threaten to cooperate with law enforcement?
Objection. Asked and answered.
Different question.
Why don't you come sidebar? I want to see the question, please.
So let's move on to some of the other antics that are going on. Melly's in court. And one of the things that you need to do in court is you need to be cognizant of your behavior. You need to be aware that the jury is looking at every move you make. So is the judge, and so are the deputies, and especially if you're in custody. So let's just kind of take a look at this beautiful behavior from this defendant.
Really? Really?
He blows a kiss to the victim's family. I mean, it's pretty cold. You know, and if you're the lawyer, it's like, what the fuck are you doing? You know, you don't want the jury to hate you, your client. You really don't. So this is like probably during a break, and he's just standing around, and his lawyers are right there and whatever. But he's looking off into the crowd. One of the things that you're not supposed to do as a defendant who's in custody is communicate with those who are in the gallery.
Let the record reflect the jury stepped out. Counsel remain along with the defendant. Anything to discuss?
Okay.
Friends? No?
No, sir.
See you back tomorrow night. Thank you.
Judge.
It's just weird. I don't know what she's looking at, but it looks really weird. I think she's trying to find his tiny little...
Sorry.
He's probably doodling or something, you know, throughout the course, and she might be looking at his writings. But he's talking with somebody who's in the gallery and getting a little perturbed.
Don't do it.
Thank you, folks.
What is it doing?
That's the head of my stuff on the fourth nine. Thank you.
I appreciate it.
And so then he's having words with whoever that is, if that's one of his lawyers. Anyway, so that's just been our little reaction to the first week of the Melly trial. And there's no fireworks. There are a little bit of fireworks with the uncooperative witness, but other than that, it's pretty tedious. You know, when you have to go through this bullet hole, this trajectory of this, and then you know the tape on the door, and and it all has to be done, because if you leave any room for error, the defense will walk right through it. And he's got good defense counsel for sure. So we'll see you next time here on Criminal Lawyer Reacts. I'm Bruce Rivers. Make sure you subscribe. Follow us on Instagram. Follow us on Twitter. Follow us on Patreon, for Christ's sake. And remember, I am completely 100% controlled by the man behind the camera, Michael Rivers. He's our content genius. Everything he says comes through my mouth. So if I say something stupid, no, I'm just kidding. So we'll see you next time here on Criminal Lawyer Reacts.
Bruce Rivers just broke down your case. He know all the charges that you about to face. You ain't coming home till 2058. That self-snitching gon' get you put away. Bruce Rivers just broke down your case. He know all the charges that you about to face. You ain't coming home till 2058. That self-snitching gon' get you put away. 23-hour lockdown, please, is at my God.